Think back to a time when the rules felt gentle and the world seemed wide open. In so many British neighborhoods of the early 1980s, the streets were alive with the sound of kids racing about, their laughter echoing between terraced houses as bikes clattered over uneven pavements. Parents didn't hover or track every move. They simply trusted children to wander, explore, and return when the sky began to dim. Most people forget how ordinary that freedom felt and how nobody questioned it. Today, it almost sounds unbelievable that life flowed with such ease. Yet for an entire generation, this was normalan, everyday rhythm that shaped childhood. And when we look back now, we can't help but marvel at how different it all seems compared with the careful, supervised world we know today. It reminds us what childhood felt like. To understand why 1980s childhood felt so open, you have to picture a Britain shaped by trust. Neighborhoods were tight-knit, with families who knew one another by name, and a kind of unspoken agreement that everyone kept an eye out. Communication was simple landlines, handwritten notes, or a quick knock on a neighbor's door, and because life moved at a gentler pace, parents expected children to learn independence early. After the economic shifts of the late 1970s, many communities leaned even closer together, creating a sense of shared resilience. Kids spent most of their days outdoors, wandering between parks, playing fields, and quiet side streets, guided more by curiosity than by schedules. Compared with today's world of organized playdates, constant supervision, and digital screens absorbing attention, the difference is striking. Modern life is shaped by safety guidelines, structured activities, and apps that map every movement. Back then, reassurance came not from technology, but from the familiar faces living just a few doors away. It was a culture that encouraged exploration, grounded in the belief that children grew stronger by venturing out. And it's within that atmosphere that so many unforgettable childhood adventures began. What stands out most about 1980s childhood is how ordinary, bold little adventures felt. After school, entire groups of kids would wander towards half-finished building sites, not to cause trouble, but to treat the empty spaces like vast obstacle courses. To young minds, stacks of timber and quiet scaffolding looked like invitations to explore rather than areas to avoid. It was simply part of the landscape of growing up. Then there were the homemade go-karts, shaky wooden creations built from planks, old wheels, and whatever string or nails could be found in a shed. Children would race them down sloping roads with absolute confidence, cheering each other on as the wheels rattled like tiny thunder. No adult supervision, no modern equipment, just the thrill of speed and the pride of creating something with their own hands. In pockets of woodland, dens sprang up everywhere. Kids collected stray bits of cardboard, fallen branches, and discarded offcuts to build secret hideouts. Spending whole afternoons decorating them or inventing stories about who could join their imaginary club, the simplest materials became entire worlds. Bikes were another symbol of freedom. With no thought for specialized accessories, children rode for miles, convinced they were unstoppable. The wind, the open road, and the feeling of independence were all they needed. And of course, there were the street games, energetic, competitive, and wonderfully chaotic. Whether it was improvised ball matches, running challenges, or playful roof and tumble, the pavements became their stadium. Today, many of these games would require protective gear and organized spaces. Yet back then, kids relied on instinct, balance, and a sense of adventure. These moments weren't daring. They were normal. They shaped confidence, creativity, and courage, setting the stage for countless memories still cherished now. If the streets felt free, the schoolyard was even more so. Break time in the 1980s was a whirlwind of energy that teachers watched with a mixture of patience and mild disbelief. The moment the bell rang, children scattered across the playground like tiny explorers released into the wild. For many, the first destination was the nearest tree. Branches became lookout towers, pirate ships, or secret bases, and every child climbing higher swore they had discovered a new vantage point. Somehow, nobody panicked. Somehow, it all worked. Inside the building, things weren't much calmer. Corridors turned into miniature racetracks the second a teacher's back was turned. Despite the daily announcements reminding pupils to walk, echoes of hurried footsteps rattled through the hallways. Books tucked under arms, shoelaces flying. Everyone rushed to be first in line, even when there was no prize for winning. The playground itself transformed every single day. One group might be creating an epic chase scene, weaving between hopscotch squares and old painted lines. Another would invent a ball game from whatever object happened to be nearby, forming teams on the spot without rules anyone could fully explain. And then there were the improvised competitions, who could jump the farthest, balance the longest, or spin the quickest without getting dizzy. It was chaotic, unregulated, and brilliantly imaginative. Clothing added to the charm. While schools issued uniform guidelines, many children stretched them in creative ways, wearing whatever felt comfortable or convenient. Jumpers tied around waists, mismatched gloves, or shoes slightly past their best were all part of the look. Nobody complained. It was simply childhood. Looking back, it's astonishing how much freedom unfolded in those brief minutes between lessons. Yet that gentle, chaos-shaped friendships, confidence, and countless unforgettable stories. Looking back now, it's clear that those small adventures did far more than fill an afternoon. They shaped us. Every wobbling go-kart, every improvised game, every moment spent exploring without a map helped build a quiet resilience that stayed with us for life. We learned how to solve problems on the spot, how to handle small setbacks, and how to trust our instincts long before anyone explained what independence really meant. Creativity came naturally because the world around us encouraged it. A cardboard box became a fortress, a fallen branch became a treasure, and a forgotten corner of the park became a kingdom. What made it truly special was the community surrounding us. Neighbors smiled, friends knocked on the door without warning, and the shared rhythm of local life gave children a sense of belonging that felt effortless. Those shared freedoms created memories so vivid that, decades later, we can still picture the exact streets where we played. It's a kind of childhood that can't be perfectly recreated today, shaped by a time when trust flowed easily and adventure waited just beyond the doorstep. And for many, those early experiences quietly influenced the adults we eventually became. When we compare those years with childhood today, the contrast is striking. Life now is safer, more organized, and guided by routines designed to protect and prepare. Children have structured activities, digital worlds to explore, and a level of supervision that would have amazed any 1980s parent. Yet, in gaining order, we've lost a little of the spontaneity that once defined growing up. Our days were shaped by imagination, chance moments, and the simple act of stepping outside to see who was around. Both eras have their strengths, but the freedom we knew belongs to a different time. As we look back, it's worth remembering the moment from the 1980s that still makes you smile. The one that sums up your own lost world.